Hello, this is Tad Radzinski. I want to welcome everybody to our webinar today. We're going to be talking about optimizing your sustainability strategy and moving beyond supply chain responsibility. So just wanted to do a few logistical things. For most of you that are on this webinar, many of you have attended in the past, and our normal flow for this is for me to go through the presentation and then for people to ask questions in the question and chat box, which is on your control panel for the GoToWebinar program. So please feel free to ask questions. I actually like it when people ask questions because it makes this even more interesting and exciting than me just talking for 20 or 25 minutes and then not having much interaction with the audience. So I do want to welcome everybody from those of you that have been following along. This is the last in our webinar series that we've been doing on sustainable supply chain strategies. And basically this is a culmination of, I think this is number 5 in the series that we've done here. And we've had some great momentum and great progress as we move forward with this. And we're ultimately looking forward to the next big event, which is going to be our seminar, which is happening on April 20th, and it's going to be here in the Philadelphia area. And we've had a great number of companies that have already registered, and good number of people that are coming along that really excited about that. And just a reminder that this seminar that we do, this is the 3rd one we've done in the last 3 years. And basically, our seminars are really focused in on being very specific to our audience. We purposely keep these seminars small, between 25 and 35 people, and we do provide individual attention to everybody who's involved in the seminar in our workshops. But part of the process of this is for people that have registered and do register, we actually send questionnaires and then conduct interviews or calls with them to clarify exactly what they're looking to get out of the seminar as it relates to sustainable supply chain strategies. We like to understand our audience and our folks that are coming. And we actually did this because I've been very frustrated over the years. There's a lot of different conferences you can go to. Actually, I just spoke at GreenBiz a couple of weeks ago. And it was good. I picked up a few new things and learned a few things, but you typically leave a conference like that with just some great new contacts and maybe a couple things in your mind, but you really don't have a strategy or an action plan moving forward. And our seminars are designed for people to actually have an action plan to go out and really implement what they've learned. And our early bird registration ends in a few weeks here. We do have a few spaces left in our registration, so we have a couple people that are in process of confirming, and we have quite a few already registered, which is exciting. So really looking forward to having people as a live audience working together on these things we've been talking about for the last 5 webinars now. So the big question is, okay, we've talked about a lot of things over the last 5 webinars, and I guess the big question I would say is, well, what's next? Ultimately, I'm hoping that all of you that have been following along on all these webinars are using some of the information you've learned and starting to do some programs within your organizations, whether it's working with your procurement teams or starting to reach out to some of your suppliers, or if you are a supplier, even reaching out to some of your customers to see how you can get some things going. Or maybe you're setting up some training programs, or you're trying to integrate some of the information you learned into your sustainable product innovation or new product development process. So that's the ultimate goal with any kind of education that we do. We really want people to learn this information, to take it and run with it, and to implement it and get success with it, and to really help drive sustainability into the business strategy for wherever you're working. So another thing we want to know is, how can you take the knowledge that you've got or learned from your supply chain? And if you recall, we've talked a lot about, establishing questionnaires or really understanding your supply chain. What can you do with that information, and how can you move forward? So very important to take that information, very important to develop systems and programs around it and move forward. The biggest thing I like to see is implementation, and what you see here is actually This is the last page of the workbook that we use in our seminars, and we call this your final action plan. Everybody that attends a seminar will have this filled out. Some people actually add more than 5 steps or 5 things they're going to do. And what we did here is I actually show an example of 5 potential things you would do as you establish your sustainable supply chain strategies. It could be developing a responsible sourcing or sustainable purchasing policy and program for your organization. Or it could be developing and conducting a sustainable supply chain conference. We're actually going to be working on one of those in the next 2 months here, where one of our customers is bringing together their suppliers from all over the world, and they're going to have a conference because they're actually rolling out new requirements on reporting information to the suppliers, and they're going to use that supply chain conference to say, all right, folks, we really enjoy having you as partners in our business, and we now have some reporting that we have to do. We're getting a lot of requests from our customers on product transparency and material ingredients, and there's regulations we have to comply with, and we're going to really need your help as our suppliers to provide the information we need to move forward. So these conferences and summits and meetings are really valuable, and it's a great way to get everybody on the same page and set up for major collaboration as you're moving forward with your initiatives. Another thing you may be doing is developing supplier-specific questionnaires. Some of the people that are actually attending the seminar have already established and submitted some of these, and they've gotten feedback on their questionnaires. And what we're going to be working on with them in the seminar is taking some of the information that they've gotten back from their key suppliers and figuring out what are the next steps with that. You know, where do you go? How do you use that? What do you do with it? And what can you do to move forward? Whether you're worried about material ingredient reporting, or if you're not a manufacturer, if you're more interested in understanding how you're going to drive sustainability down the supply chain, or how that's affecting the products you're using in your organization, those questionnaires are really valuable, and they're great information to help you establish your strategies and your plans. Another thing you might be doing is maybe integrating some sustainable supply chain requirements into your new product development process, or maybe you already have a sustainable product innovation program, or as a minimum, I strongly recommend putting these requirements into procurement specifications. Let's imagine you did develop a questionnaire and you're going to send that out. You could basically require that in the procurement specs that your suppliers are going to provide that information on a regular basis. Or if you are asking for material ingredient reporting information or chemical abstract numbers or whatever, you could build that right into your procurement specs. Or maybe you're a manufacturer that wants to have recycled content built into your products, and you could be requiring a certain percentage be utilized. Or if you're an organization that's just buying services or products, perhaps you would integrate into those procurement specifications the requirements that your suppliers comply with your responsible sourcing strategy, or your policies, or your code of conduct, or maybe you're going to integrate for certain product categories various aspects of sustainable requirements you'd like to see. You know, whether you're purchasing office supplies, or if you're a organization that's operating hotels, you may want to set up something around the materials you use on a routine basis, like sheets or mattresses or whatever. All these different things can be built right into the procurement specifications. Another really important thing that this should be on most people's plans is some type of ongoing training program. And whether you're going to do this for your suppliers, or ideally you're going to be doing this for your team. Most of you who are in this business of trying to implement sustainability know that it's not a one person or one department job. It requires help from all people within your organization, and everybody has to understand they have some kind of a role in the sustainability of the organization. And if they're involved in any way with supply chain or new product development or purchasing or logistics or any of these things, even customer service, they should know what you're doing and how they can communicate that, and how they can effectively participate and drive this to make it just your everyday way of doing business. And one other thing that could be on here is developing a communications and marketing strategy. So we learned a lot about the new customer regime that's coming up, the millennials, and how we're going to deal with those. And just about everybody that's on this webinar today, I'm sure you're either hiring and working with millennials, or you're selling products or services to them, or they're staying in your hotels, or they're buying your products, all kinds of different things to think about. And it's a different way of marketing. And not only do you have your standard customer requirements, but now you have to think about, all right, how are we going to market and sell to this next generation? And we did talk about that on quite a few of the other webinars and built that up. So again, this is just an example. Really, you're going to do this specifically as you move forward in the seminar and basically flesh this out. And we typically want to get a lot more detail in here. We just don't want to have a big overarching goal. We're going to want you to have what we call, maybe like a SMART action plan, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound, where you're going to have, all right, we're going to try to meet with John Smith to establish this program by X date. That's what we really strive for in the workshops, getting people to really fill these things out. So I talked a little bit about responsible sourcing and sustainable purchasing, and I can tell you that just about everybody that's on the webinar today, regardless of what you do, whether you're a manufacturer or you're a service provider or, a retailer or whatever, you definitely would want to have institutionalized some type of sustainable purchasing policy. Think about it. Every one of us that's on the webinar today buys things. I know in our own companies here, we do have a sustainable purchasing policy that covers us for office supplies and food, and we even go down to the level of shipping and transportation. And we also have requirements in our sustainable purchasing policy around what type of hotels we look to stay in. We typically look at certain hotel brands based on, what their ratings are when it comes to TripAdvisor and various things like that. And we even have some things around sustainable purchasing around transportation. We try to take the lowest impact means. So oftentimes if we could take a train versus flying, we'll do that, different things like that. And then if you're looking to do responsible sourcing, and this is where knowledge of what's going on in your supply chain or what's going on in the markets is really valuable. Knowing you're purchasing a lot of a certain product or material or service, and having done some type of benchmarking and analysis on your supply chain, realizing what the big or most material aspects are for you as an organization is really important to understand. Let's say you're sourcing coffee from somewhere. It's good to know what type of certifications the coffee you're buying might have, or it's good to know what kind of working condition those folks are working under. And that's where you would get into the details of developing a responsible sourcing policy. And I do want to point out that we have a really broad mix of people that have already signed up for this seminar. Some of them are really just starting out and thinking about developing some of these things I'm talking about. We're going to give you information on how to move forward with that, some of the steps to take, give you some sample policies that you can utilize. Or we have some other folks that are a little more advanced where they already have these things and they're really trying to roll it out on a bigger basis across their companies, or they're trying to institute this more down within their supply chain or up their supply chain to their customers. So all these things will be covered, and definitely you'll get a great understanding of how to move forward with all of this. I mentioned earlier the Sustainable Supply Chain Conferences, and I can't explain how valuable these are. We gave a few examples on previous webinars where we were talking about how Coca-Cola has done some really great things, and then Intel was able to work with their supply chain to become the first company to be claiming conflict-free for a lot of their products and materials. And the value Coke got out of it was they got a lot of ideas, they got a lot of collaboration and synergy, which really helped lay some groundwork. And think about it, anytime you're working face-to-face with somebody, or you have people at the table and they feel like they have a voice and they're not being dictated on what they need to do, these supply chain conferences can be really valuable. And especially if you're starting to roll out a program, or you're going to start a questionnaire program where you're going to start sending questionnaires, or you're even considering establishing some type of supply chain requirements. Getting some of your suppliers at the table to say, hey, this is what we're planning to do, this is what we're going to be asking of you, what do you see as the, are there values and benefits of this, are there going to be some concerns, let's talk about how we can go about this, and oh, by the way, this is why we're doing it, because if we can do something here together, we believe we can ramp up and grow our market share. And actually, right before this webinar, I just got off of call where we're working with a manufacturer and they have a supplier that they need more information to help them get recognized by a very large customer in the marketplace. If they can disclose a little more information about the materials in their product, they have the potential to sell millions of feet of their product, which could be great for both of them. So this is why these supply chain conferences are really valuable, and we'll definitely be talking about this and giving you great examples and tips on how to do these in our seminar. In fact, we have a number of companies and even some industry associations that are attending the seminar that we're actually going to be working on setting up a plan on how they're going to move forward with doing this in the future. We did talk a lot about doing these supply chain questionnaires. Here's one example that is typically utilized to understand recycled content in a product, but this doesn't have to be just limited to only material ingredients. These questionnaires can really start to ask questions like Walmart did back in 2010 of all their suppliers. What are you doing as an organization to reduce your carbon footprint? What are you doing as an organization around, fair wages, or what are you doing as an organization to ensure worker safety? These are things that are really helpful, and then if you can integrate them into some type of auditing program, if you have supplier auditing going on for quality or spot audits, and you can integrate some of these things into that, that's really valuable as well. So again, we'll be talking about how to develop these, what works and doesn't work. We've been sending out these supplier questionnaires for many years now, and we know what has worked, what has gotten better responses, what makes good sense to the folks that are trying to do this stuff. So again, very important to understand how to move forward with these. And again, this could be how you implement or one of your action plans that we really want to see people doing. We've also talked a lot about sustainable product innovation, using life cycle thinking to change products and services and the way we do business. And in fact, this is what I spoke at GreenBiz. I was on a panel and we were talking about the circular economy, and we were talking about the need to understand the life cycle impacts of all types of products and materials, because sometimes intuitively it doesn't make sense to recycle something. Even though we think it's the best avenue, it's going to be the lowest impact. We have a lot of different materials on the planet today that just don't have an effective means of being recycled. So ideally what we want to try to do is redesign those, but in the meantime, we still got a lot of materials to deal with, and maybe we have to think about doing different management techniques. Maybe there's, energy from waste would be a solution, or maybe, some type of future take-back program, or maybe there's an organization that can use this in one of their products or something. But we got to remember that life cycle thinking requires really thinking outside of the box, really understanding where the impacts occur from our product or operation or service, and where we can make changes. And if you're someone who's buying products, it's really good to understand where these product categories and these impacts occur. We're doing I'm on a committee now on the Environmental Protection Agency, and we're actually developing some requirements around what are the hot spots and impacts that need to be evaluated by different third-party certifiers for flooring. And it's pretty interesting to take a hard look at, where you start way down here in this, in the life cycle of getting materials out of the earth, whether you're harvesting trees to make wood products, or you're basically using, certain chemicals that require oil or whatever to produce flooring. Very important to understand where the impacts occur in order to establish an effective program around sustainable purchasing, responsible sourcing, and then your supply chain sustainability as well. We've talked about how to integrate this into the new product development or sustainable product innovation process. This is a sample of a tool we've developed, which helps this get integrated into the stage gate process for different companies that manufacture products. And this is not only valuable for a manufacturer, but it's also valuable for you as a supplier to understand why the manufacturer is asking you certain things when they're asking you to submit information about where you're getting your materials, or why do you have a sustainability program or policy, or different things like that. So these are all things that if we can standardize them, we could put them into our common systems, remember, we don't want sustainability to be this add-on program that everybody's like, oh great, here comes Joe, the sustainability professional again, and he's going to ask me to do 10 things. We just want to build this into your system as it exists right now and basically enhance the systems you already have. And that's something we'll be talking a lot about this seminar and really working on in the workshop programs. I mentioned training, and think about this. Training isn't just going to be you as the sustainability professional or the procurement agent or whatever. Just training needs to be integrated into everybody's title and role and understanding what they're doing. And it covers not only new product development teams, but for sustainable procurement, and if we're going to be driving this down the supply chain, your procurement teams have to be really well versed on why this is important, be able to communicate that, be able to build it in the specs and the contracts. And we actually have 2 companies that are bringing members of their procurement team to the seminar. And their goal, this is all going to be internal. They're going to work internally to figure out how they can bring these policies, procedures, and other things they're developing and get them, the procurement team, on board to help them implement. Training your suppliers, we've talked about that already. I'm not going to talk about that again, but then really training your sales and marketing teams, because we know for sure that companies that not only have sustainability initiatives but good sustainable supply chain programs need to be telling your customers, your suppliers, anybody, any NGOs you're dealing with, you want to be communicating that. And if you're a supplier to somebody and you've got some great stuff going on, you want your marketing and sales guys to be able to go to your primary customer and say, hey, we're doing some really great stuff, and we know you guys are working on some supply chain sustainability initiatives. We got out in front of it, and here's what we're doing. So being proactive and being able to present that is really valuable. Definitely communications and marketing strategy. Like I said, we have actually seen, I mentioned that example today where I was on the phone right before the webinar, and we were talking with one of our customers, and they were on board with one of their suppliers talking about getting more disclosure around material ingredients. Now, there's a good chance that this customer that we're dealing with, if they can get this information, there's a good chance that they're going to sell many, many millions of feet of this product they make. So for a while, they're going to be almost like a preferred vendor until the other competition catches up. So that's huge. You really want to be able to highlight the sustainability attributes that you're doing. And then we definitely need to think about the next generation of customers that you're going to have. This new millennial generation that's really becoming not only large purchasers but decision makers in the companies that they're working for. Even though a lot of them are younger folk and they're moving up the ladder, they're eventually going to be in major decision-making roles. So being able to communicate that, being able to work with them, also being able to attract the folks to your companies that want to work with you is going to be really important. And we've also talked a lot about product certification. Maybe this is going to be something that's important to you as an organization. Give you a few examples here: cradle-to-cradle certification, Declare, supply chain management audits through Green Circle Certified. These are all different things that can help you, especially if you're dealing with customers like the Department of Defense or the Sustainability Consortium, or if you're complying with LEED version 4 or Walmart. All these different folks, there is value in getting some certifications, and a lot of it does flow down the supply chain. It could be a tool that's helpful for you. Could also be a means of driving more sustainability in the supply chain. Department of Defense is looking for sustainable materials and products, so this is why we're asking you guys for this information. Or, even the Sustainability Consortium is getting ready to roll out some things that they're working on, like the Sustainable Leaders with Walmart. Being able to get listed on that requires you to understand your supply chain, to understand your life cycle impacts, and to be able to pull that stuff together. And I understand there will be some more details coming out around that Sustainability Leader certification that's going to be provided for labeling of products. So really, main thing that we're really looking to do with this, working with your supply chain, is really taking your whole sustainability strategy for your organization to the next level. Not only is this going to help you with improving your relationships with your suppliers, it's going to definitely give you a better handle on where they're going, what they're doing, how they really affect you and your sustainability as an organization. And I can guarantee that if you do this right and take the lessons you're learning, not only from these webinars, but attending the seminar, You're definitely going to be getting some great cost savings, some initiatives that are going to really drive achievement of your goals. A lot of the companies that we have coming have 2020 goals that they're trying to achieve, and for them to achieve some of these, it's going to really require collaboration in the supply chain if they're going to really want to reduce packaging and waste at their plants. We have a couple facilities and companies that have a goal of zero waste to landfill. So really knowing how to work with your suppliers is one way to do that. Maybe you have to think about the products that you manufacture, and maybe it's going to require you to go back to your suppliers and say, hey, look, at the end of life or end of use of this product, we don't really have a use for this, and it's ending up in a landfill or an energy from waste facility. Is there something we can work together differently to just redesign this? Maybe you're going to create environmental product declarations or health product declarations, or more importantly, really understanding the social sustainability aspects and risk reduction that you could be looking to achieve. So again, this is where we're headed. Excited there's quite a few of you on the webinar that are definitely going to be attending the seminar, so this is what you can look forward to. You're going to walk out of that seminar with this action plan. For 3 months afterwards, we're going to have follow-up sessions that are set up on a specified time and date each month. And in the past couple seminars we've done, we've had everybody come together and really talk about their progress, their struggles, their successes on moving this forward. So we give you support afterwards as well, which is pretty awesome. And like I said, we have a few spaces left. If any of you that are on this webinar today are thinking about, oh, should I go, should I not go, we definitely want you to sign up. We definitely have confirmed registrations from Merck Pharmaceuticals and their suppliers, FMC Corporation, ASSA ABLOY, Superior Essex, some people from the resilient flooring industry, some folks from Vinyl Institute that are trying to figure out how to make work with their supply chain. We have some folks coming from automotive manufacturing. So a lot of great things happening, and you'll be in the room with a lot of people that are share some great information, experiences, and we get to learn from each other during the day. So I only have about 2 or 3 minutes here. I actually got 2 questions that I want to address really quickly. The first one says, I'm a supplier to a large global company, and I was wondering how I can be proactive and initiate something with my customers around supply chain sustainability. Well, one thing I would say is it's great if you could start the communication process. If you have direct contacts with this large organization that you're a supplier to, reaching out to them, maybe working through your procurement team to, maybe request a meeting or a dialogue to understand what they're looking to do. And being proactive, I think, is really valuable in getting the first steps going with them. Also, taking some of the lessons learned from our webinars, implementing some things internally, understanding how maybe you can really, thinking about the products you supply or the services you supply and saying, hey, we might have a way to reduce packaging, or maybe we can come up with a new design on this product that will mean that end of life is going to help both of us because, it doesn't have to go to a landfill. Those are the kind of things you can do. And if you really want to learn more, definitely come to the seminar, because this is something that we're going to definitely cover. And like I said, we're going to plan to work with you to develop these things specifically, to help you out. Let's see, got another question here around, okay, this one says, just tell me more about the workshops we're going to have. Well, the workshops we're going to have are definitely customized. Like I said, everyone that's attending has already received a questionnaire, and then we're going to do follow-up interviews with you as we finalize our workshop plans and flesh out the final details of the workbook for each of you. So the companies that I mentioned, like Merck and ASSA ABLOY and whatnot, they're going to have a table dedicated to them, and they'll have a dedicated one of our team members here from either Sustainable Solutions or Green Circle working with them that's going to really help them implement their whole program and, walk out of there with an action plan that's going to help them drive forward. And I actually just had one other question come in. Let me see if I can decipher this. This one was asking about if integrating some of the things I just talked about into the Sustainable Product Innovation Program, does that actually help streamline, have we seen that help streamline like data requests and information requests with suppliers? I can tell you, yes, definitely, especially when you build those requirements into the specifications or those kind of things, you can definitely improve there. So that's the kind of thing we look to do, and being able to get that information built into the contracts, built into your process, so it's done on a regular basis, does streamline that data collection and information requests you're going to get from your suppliers, because they know it's contractually obligated for them to do that. They've been educated about it, but then your new product development teams just do that as a natural way of doing business. So we have seen that improve the data collection process. We've improved the amount of information we've got and that kind of things. I also did get another question, will there be a seminar later this year? We typically do these seminars once a year. We typically do them in the spring like we're doing, and so we probably won't be having another one in 2016, but definitely 2017, and I'm hoping that you all don't have to wait, because like I said, we definitely have some slots open and we're still taking registrations right now. So anyway, great day, great topics here. Thank you for these great questions. Really looking forward to seeing a lot of you that are on the webinar today in the next month or so when we get together in Philadelphia at the CIRA Center. For those of you that missed, we had an information session webinar explaining in detail what's happening, the agenda, the system for the day, the networking event the night before. Those recordings are available. Reach out to Sylvie. And if you need any help at all with the registration, just reach out to Sylvie and she'll help you out. Anyway, thank you for attending. Excited to work with all of you. Excited that you're all going to take this information and move forward. For those of you I won't see at the seminar, definitely take the lessons learned from these webinars and let's roll forward, and let's make sustainability just our standard way of doing business in everyday life, and so we can all make the planet a better place. Anyway, great day, and thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the week.